education, or transform ed. Education is a complex process that's hard to describe completely. Different people will have different perspectives, but it does seem to contain at least 3 dimensions. Training is the first dimension of education. It has to do with behavior. Instruction has to do with knowledge. Nurture, the third dimension, has to do with relationship. All 3 dimensions are important, but individual teachers and different school systems will emphasize different dimensions. Which dimension do you personally tend to emphasize? No matter what our personal emphasis may be, all 3 dimensions are important. It's been said that the mansion of learning is entered through the doorway of training, and it is true that there are many situations where without fundamental skills, further growth is difficult, if not impossible. Young children need to know what they're to do and not do, even before they can understand the reasons. But by the age of 2, they're already very interested in knowing why, so instruction needs to begin. However, without positive relationships, resistance and resentment to any kind of training and instruction are inevitable. Often the best answer to, "Why do I have to learn this anyways?" is embodied in the care of a teacher for the students. Unfortunately, knowing that all 3 dimensions are important doesn't automatically cause us to value people with a different emphasis. Instead of moving toward the center where all 3 dimensions contribute to the process, our natural tendency is to move away from other emphases and distort our own. Legalism is a special danger for those who approach education from a training perspective. Focusing on outward behavior to determine a person's value ignores who they are inside and what motivates their actions. Conformity becomes more important than character. Teachers can become tyrants in their quest to control what students are doing. Pride is a special danger for those who enjoy instruction and knowledge. Good scores on examinations can be treated as more important than how we benefit others. If a person's value is determined by what they know rather than character, the teacher who knows more than the students can consider himself superior. Students who struggle with academic knowledge begin to consider themselves useless. What could possibly be a problem with an emphasis on relationships? Having glimpsed something of the distortions training and instruction can produce, it's easy to assume that nurture will solve everything. Unfortunately, it's easy to encourage selfishness when the quality of relationships is measured only by how the relationship affects me personally. It isn't hard for students to begin questioning, "What have you done for me today?" Teachers may avoid giving valuable feedback about behavior and knowledge because they don't want anything to disturb the friendships that make their own lives pleasant, leaving students poorly equipped to move toward maturity and away from ignorance. Change is hard work, so it's easier to focus on feeling good and ignoring what would benefit others. The elusive center is so attractive despite our natural tendencies to move away from it, because all people are made in the image of a triune God, who has always lived in relationship with himself, knows everything, and actively, lovingly seeks a relationship with us. When all 3 dimensions of education are present and in balance, we most accurately reflect the nature of our Creator and fulfill his good purposes for us. But how do we overcome our tendencies to move away from what we really desire? How can we stop doing what we don't want to do and start educating in better ways? Trying harder to do right, learning more about methods and content, or even developing supporting learning communities are insufficient to overcome the centrifugal force of our sinful natures. Only the cross of Christ can deal with the root of our problem. He offers forgiveness for all that we've done that's wrong. even when it far outweighs what we have done right. He accepts us as we are, even though our knowledge of him and his ways are childlike and incomplete. He offers restoration of all the broken relationships with God, ourselves, others, and every part of his world in which we live. Jesus changes us completely from the inside out. He gives us a new nature like his own, and gives us his Holy Spirit to live within us so that we're not dependent on our own ability to do better. He gives us the power to do what pleases God and benefits others. He gives understanding so that our knowledge can be wisely put into practice. And he gives us the ability to love even the unlovely and our enemies, just the way he loved us, even before we knew him or while we were actively rejecting him. Education is valued throughout the world because it promises to make a difference, but only when the heart of the teacher and students have been changed will we really have education that transforms individuals and the world. Christ-centered, Spirit-empowered, Transform Ed will equip us to live God-honoring lives in his world the way his word, the Bible, directs us. For more resources for Christ-centered education, please visit the Transforming Teachers website.